To my right is Elisa Sandoval, who is Bedford's Business Development Specialist. And to her right is Patrick Barbieri, who is the Executive Director of the LABBB Collaborative. That's Lexington, Arlington, Belmont, Burlington, Bedford. Whew. I got them all out. I always think there are only two, but there are actually 3 Bs in LABBB. So, Elisa, you've been here for a while. LABBB has been in the Bedford schools for a very long time, but you've recently moved your offices to Bedford.
That's correct.
So it helps with the tax rate and it makes it easier for Bedford. Well, anyway, so tell us, first of all, how did you find your way to Bedford? What had you been doing before Bedford put out the call for a business development specialist?
Sure. I worked as a planning consultant for a transportation and planning firm in Watertown, so I worked on a lot of comprehensive and master plans for communities throughout Massachusetts. Before that, I was a planner in New York State, and before that in California, so I have a broad range of national planning experience. And I also come from a family of, entrepreneurs. My dad was a restaurant owner, and so I have that sort of perspective of, what it's like, having a small business, a family-owned business too. So kind of that blend of the planning and the business.
The planning and the practical.
Yeah.
So quick question, when you got here, was there a job description to execute, or did you have to kind of hit the ground running and make it up?
Well, it was a pretty broad description, so I think it said something like to maintain and revitalize the business and commercial areas of Bedford, which is a pretty broad, statement. So I work for Rick Reed, the town manager, and together we've kind of come up with our priorities and kind of initiatives from there. So it's a part-time position, so I have to be somewhat strategic in what I work on, and but it's been really good. A lot of it has been initially reaching out to businesses, so really getting to know the businesses in Bedford. I had no idea that there was such a cluster of life sciences companies in Bedford. Over 30 life sciences companies, a lot of high-tech companies. We have a robotics cluster, which I've just been getting to learn about too. So it's been really neat. A lot of innovative companies in Bedford.
Well,
and then companies such as Patrick's company. There's an education focus here as well. So yeah, it's been great.
Well, and it was very clear that the two of you knew one another when you walked in. It was like, hello, how are you? So, Patrick, what drew LABBB to Bedford?
So, Bedford became part of LABBB back in 1979, and LABBB was creating programs for students with special needs. And we started off real small, and as we started to grow, it really made sense that the more towns that were contiguous together worked together, and we're able to pool our resources together and really develop quality programs. So Bedford's been great. We have programs in the high school and in the middle school, and we also have a vocational training program. So we do a lot of work out in the community. So Whole Foods, we have a work site there where our staff go out and our students actually work. Interactive Data, which is another business in Bedford. So it's great, and we're always in the community and trying to make contacts, and it was great to meet with Alyssa just to kind of see what she does, and hopefully we can continue to grow and be more part of the community. So.
Well, we're all for that. So Elisa, when you look at companies like LABBB and invite them to come to Bedford, what kinds of things do you tell them?
Well, with Patrick, I try to set up a meeting when companies first are looking at Bedford or arrive and decide to locate in Bedford, to really understand why they chose Bedford. A lot of times it's location. They like the access to 128. They like the particular building. For you, Patrick, I think it was the building in combination with the location in Bedford that he really liked. So it's not always one thing, it's usually a combination of things. Yeah. And so for me, that helps me to develop like marketing materials and how we can kind of promote Bedford. If I know why Patrick chose Bedford, I can then sort of use that as a promotional material for attracting companies to Bedford. And for me, it's just you know, I think it's just good practice to meet with companies when they come in so they have a point of contact right away. And we establish a good working relationship, so if Patrick runs into an issue down the road, he knows, oh, I can contact Elisa because, you know, she knows what's going on in the town and can help me out with this problem.
And I didn't know there was a person like her that existed, so it was good. You know, she asked, you know, what kind of things do you need? You know, we can be a resource, and that's good to know, because you want to make those connections when you're in the community.
Well, we want you to make those connections. And another of your connections in the community is with Middlesex Community College and their ICE program.
That's correct. We just started it this year, and that's been a great project. And we have many students that come to us that want a college experience, and you know, they're looking for that as a vision in their life, and how can they do that? And with the students that we work with, you know, sometimes it can be difficult kind of getting their foot in the door. So we've been trying to get into this grant for many years, and finally Middlesex, who's right in our backyard, it just made sense, said, you know, let's talk about it. They were interested in the grant, and what it does, it gives students, while they're still within our program at the high school, they can also be dually enrolled at Middlesex Community College and take a course. And it's not just about the course, it's also about the experience. You know, they have a job, they go and take a college course, they get involved in the extracurricular activities at Middlesex Community College. So we just started our second cohort this semester, so we have 3 more students, and it's just been great. Again, learning about what they do, and you know, we're hopefully looking at now starting to create some opportunities for the students to be able to work within that area. So, you know, making contacts with the businesses will help the students, you know, further their skills and being able to be as independent as possible when they graduate.
And don't forget Bedford Television in that.
That's right.
You know, we have some opportunities. Maybe a few. You never can tell. Well, I think one of the things that kids might be interested in, no matter what, is learning about video production and editing and...
Yeah, actually one of the courses that one of the students has taken is video production. And I think that's great. So they just told me about it, so I look forward to hearing how they're doing.
Video projection or?
Production.
Production, okay.
Right,
yeah. So here, this is the next shameless commerce promotion for Bedford Television. On the Bedford Television website, there is a link that tells you how to submit your independently produced video, whether it would be something that you would produce about Bedford, or something that one of the students would produce in their video production class, and you put it in through Bedford Television, and there's a prize. No, but it gives, there's an opportunity for people to get what they're doing out into the community, but we're not here to talk about that. So, Elisa, tell me what kinds of things you are coming next. What's on your horizon?
Well, I don't know if you heard recently, but we did have shuttle service. We started shuttle service, a commuter shuttle service that's going from Alewife to the Crosby Drive area to business parks on Crosby Drive. So the next step really is MITRE joined that. They started that initially, and this is through the Middlesex 3 Coalition. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, but we should talk about that before we finish.
So they, that has been a great resource. But really working on trying to expand that to other companies along Crosby. So trying to link that, that helps with sort of the traffic in that area and just overall kind of air quality issues with that. So I think, promoting the shuttle service has been great, and really companies are finding that they're having a hard time attracting young talent that tends to live in Cambridge and Boston and Somerville, and they, these youngsters, they don't want to own cars, so how do we, but they're very talented and they have the training, so how do we get those, that young labor force out and, to the suburbs, to a suburb like Bedford.
And then get them back home so that they can have the life that they want.
Exactly, so have the best of both worlds, really, for them. But I think promoting that and expanding that is kind of next on, the horizon, and then also just really, I want to look at Great Road and reaching out to the retail businesses along Great Road too. I'm working with the Bedford Chamber of Commerce to put on a workshop that is a retail best practices workshop for Bedford businesses. That, you know, kind of a workshop really focused on kind of low cost changes you can make to your store or restaurant that kind of enhances the curb appeal or maybe the flow of your store and layout. So we're going to be holding that. Stay tuned for that at the end of March. So
outstanding.
Yeah.
Can we come to that and
you can definitely come to that. Yes,
I think that would be a lot of fun to see.
So
well, yes, but especially with so much development going along the Great Road with Bedford Marketplace and then changes down at the Bedford Shopping Center.
exactly, and there are going to be some new businesses coming in and businesses moving around. So, you know, I think it's a good opportunity for here's spring update.
Here's why I put poor Lisa on the spot. Can you share any hot news
regarding
new businesses coming to town?
Well, I think people have heard about.
I'm teasing you
Okay.
mostly
Okay.
teasing. But if there is something, we always like a you know, the hot news.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think most of what you know is you probably already know what's
Okay.
going
Well,
on,
I don't.
so.
It's what our listeners would like to know.
Sure.
Restaurants are remarkably interesting to people who live in Bedford.
Yes.
I would not have been. I was very surprised when I realized just how much of a draw a restaurant can be. Just the news of it coming into town
Right.
or something, you know, changing about it is something
Right.
people really want to know.
No, people I've heard, you know, time and time again from people that they would like to see. I don't know if more restaurants is the right word, but you know, maybe certain kinds of restaurants, you know, in Bedford. But you know, I think we do have great restaurants already. They seem to do very well. So you know, it's just a matter of finding the right fit in the right place. So.
Well, and that comes to the lab programs and the lab kids and what kinds of. I know there's Best Buddies, and we probably should do a shout out to the high school and their Best Buddies program.
Tremendous. Can't speak enough. We could do a whole show on that.
We could do that.
They did, as most people in Bedford know, they won the Best Buddies chapter of the year in the nation.
Yes.
It was quite a thrill when they won it from Massachusetts. So, yeah, they're a big part of our program, and just working with our students has been tremendous. So I'd love to give a shout out to them. But also, you know, the jobs that our students have, restaurants are great. We work in the food industry. That's always a popular area. So always looking for new things to get involved in. And we have, you know, part of our staff goes out in the community looking for jobs, and because our students can play such a big role, but just given the opportunity when we go in there and show what we do, just like we did at Whole Foods. So we'd always look for those opportunities, and restaurants, great business.
Roughly how many students does the Lab Collaborative work with each year?
So we have a total of 320 students, and that's students from elementary age up through high school, and they can go to school until they're 22.
Yeah.
And most of our students are at the high school level, and when they graduate, we're always, you know, looking for opportunities, you know, for them to, you know, make sure that they have some type of job once they leave, or they're placed appropriately.
Yeah.
So that's important. And most of our the students that attend lab, about 50% of it, they're all from the lab district. So
From the towns.
From the towns, right. So, you know, for them to be and learn about their town and know, just like the transportation you talked about, that's so important because, you know, we're using the public transportation, the local type of transports that they have in the towns.
Yeah,
very
I was
important.
interested to hear when you talked about that a lot of the students or the interns are using the bus to
That's
go
right.
from, what was it, the high school to the...
The Middlesex Community College.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they have the opportunity to do that and learn how to travel train, it's going to give them many more opportunities when they graduate. And that's what we hear all the time. If they know how to take public transportation, you know, go into a job that really fits their skills, is going to be a lot easier.
So now do you mean that the lab kids can use these new shuttles when they're not doing...
Oh, I think we're just talking
we're
about
going to be
the-
talking two different things.
We're talking about the MBTA, bus
MBTA,
is
right.
what,
Oh,
what
okay.
they're using to get
Oh.
from the high school to
Right.
Middlesex Community College.
Yeah, or anywhere.
Oh,
Just kinda-
okay, the one that goes right up South Road.
Right.
That's right. Yep.
The bus.
Hi, I've
just
only
the
lived here
regu-
since 1960.
The regular bus.
Yeah, all right. Yes, hi. Anyway, that's extremely exciting.
Yeah.
Extremely exciting.
Yeah.
So, all of the, I shouldn't say all of this, but much of what's going on in Bedford right now, and some of the reason that I'll bet you've come, Patrick, or Lab has come, has to do with Middlesex 3, and Bedford has made a big commitment to Middlesex 3. Could you explain what it is to our listeners, watchers?
Yes. So the Middlesex 3 Coalition is a regional partnership of 9 communities up and down Route 3. So I don't make me list all of those places. But,
Starts at 128 and goes to the New Hampshire
right.
border.
So Bedford, Billerica,
There you go.
Burlington are on our end of it.
There you go.
It's a partnership with the business community. So we also have and colleges. So we have Middlesex Community Colleges on the board, UMass Lowell, 2 developers and real estate broker, and we have the communities as well. And Stephanie Cronin is the executive director, and Rick Reed is the chair of the board, and
Rick Reed
is the town manager
is
here.
Bedford's town manager.
And
yes.
so what that organization really does is to help solve problems, whether they're community problems or business problems or a combination of both. They help to solve those problems that one community can't solve on its own. So that's why we found sort of strength through, building these relationships together. So that's how the shuttle service was started through the Middlesex 3 Transportation Management Association, which we call a TMA, and that's really just come to the fore through companies just saying, we're having trouble enticing the younger workers out to our suburban office park. So that's how that sort of solution arose. So,
I've been doing some work to think about Bedford in a new way about the arts. And so we were talking about Bedford and its growth from a farming community to a technological community, and then to a community that fully integrates the arts. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, all that stuff. And so in part of that, we were looking at the growth along 128, and it just suddenly struck me that the technology highway and those growth spurts that came in the late 60s and early 70s along Route 128, there's some kind of parallel to the Middlesex 3 stuff, and taking that technology highway and expanding it into a new neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We're seeing a lot more high-tech companies and biotech medical device companies starting up around Route 3. So it's definitely the new high-tech corridor, I think. So,
Yay.
yeah.
You got here just in time. You got here just in time to watch it develop. So apropos of that, there was a wonderful question in my mind. So Patrick, say something about that while I remember what my question
Well,
was.
I will say, I want to make a comment, because that coalition sounds like how it started, very much why Lab started, because you had more communities coming together that could do something better and solve problems that the districts couldn't do on their own. Something that we do is actually transporting students to and from school, and special education transportation, but it started off by just getting around the table and talking about how can we help the districts, and if a district had to do it by itself, it just couldn't have the economies of scales to put that together. So we also do a lot of transportation, and we looked at the routes all around the Middlesex area, and the towns have benefited greatly, by that, by coming together and just problem solving, and say, if we have a central kind of organization that can do that and help solve that problem, it works. So it sounds very much how the coalition started.
Oh, everybody needs an editor, and nobody's really good on their own. They may think they are, but they're much better in concert with other people. And speaking of in concert with other people, I remembered one of the things that persistently surprises me is the number of nationally traded, and we're talking NASDAQ or over-the-counter or even New York Stock Exchange companies, who have their headquarters in Bedford.
Yeah, so publicly traded companies with actual headquarter locations in Bedford. I think at my last count was something like 14 or 15, maybe.
Does that tickle you the way it does me?
So, you know, I mean, naming just a few.
Well, it would be hard to name them, and
Yeah.
we don't want to do
wanna-
one against
right,
the other.
Exactly, but quite a few headquarters, actual headquarter locations in Bedford.
And not just
So-
major offices, but real
No.
Bedford companies that are nationally traded on over-the-counter NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange.
Or global companies with
Yeah.
offices worldwide, but with headquarters in Bedford. So, yeah.
So did you know that about Bedford before we did this? One of the things, I've been doing this sort of thing with Bedford television since 1989. And over the years, we have been waiting. It's almost like the second coming. We've been waiting for you. And no, seriously. And for companies to see Bedford as you have done, Patrick, as a good place to be, because we are a good place to be, and we're delighted to have you as part of it. So what have I not asked that either of you would like to say?
You know, just reiterating that, you know, that I'm collaborating and get a lot of assistance, not just through my own role, but through partnerships with the Middlesex Free Coalition, with the Bedford Chamber of Commerce, and they've been fabulous to work with. And just a whole host, Middlesex Community College. So, you know, me and building relationships with those organizations has really helped me be successful and will continue to be successful. So
And helps the town. Patrick,
Yeah.
what about you?
And for Lab, Bedford has been a great community to work with. It's just so many things, not just the best buddies that has been, you know, fabulous, but you know, for us, you know, for our students and looking to the Bedford businesses and what we can do to collaborate, you know, we would want to continue to reach out and try to get those partnerships, because I think that we can offer a great service to the businesses locally. And, you know, talking to the other businesses that we've been with, you know, some like Leahy Clinic, we've been at for over 30 years. So, you know, it isn't something new that we started. We've done this for a long time. And I think that that's really what Lab was built on. And, you know, we want to give that students as much experience as possible in their community. So the more we can work with businesses and get our name out there, you know, we want to be able to contribute to the community. But Bedford's been great to work with. Can't say enough.
The Bedford Education Business Partnership. Oh, that's another organization. Thank you both so much for joining us. It is delightful to hear both of your stories, and I hope you will both come back.
Sure.
thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bedford, it is February. It is cold, it is rainy, it is snowy. It is Valentine's Day, though. And it is also, even before Valentine's Day, Truck Day. Truck Day means that spring training isn't far behind. So while all the muck is on the roads, and while you're maybe in snow up to here, starting in the next little while, remember, spring training is coming. It's not that far. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back next month.